Greetings. Today, I want to share with you my thoughts, the thoughts I'm having on Hurricane Helene and a world in crisis, really connecting it with the energies of the outer planets and looking at how we can get a little insight from astrology as to how we should think about these times that we are in. I'm Marina Orms, and this is your Astro perspective for Sunday, October 2024. We are in interesting times, and you will almost, if you're checking out different astrologers online, you will almost certainly see a lot of different takes on what all these things are. So I'm on the outer planets, their placements, how they relate to what's happening, but I'm going to share with you my thoughts. So this is my perspective, and what I think about. So we've got three outer planets in at the very end of their sign. So Pluto at the very end, final degree of Capricorn. Currently, we've got Neptune. As of today is at 28 degrees Pisces, and Uranus at 26 degrees Taurus. I have, over the course of these videos that I share, I've spoken at different points about the placement of Pluto, what it looks like and means as it goes into Aquarius and retrogrades back into Capricorn, where it is right now. I've also talked about Neptune, and it's finishing up its time in Pisces, spent some time in the final degree of Pisces, got really, 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 really close to Aries, but not quite, and then went retrograde, as well as Uranus, that is now reaching the end of its time in Taurus. So having three outer planets like this, getting ready to change signs, or in the case of Pluto, already has been in the process of changing signs, brings us to kind of this unique way of experiencing these cycles. So all planets have cycles with each other. That is why we have in our astrology charts, we have aspects. And so whether you know that term or not, it has to do with the geometric relationship between the different planets and how they show up in our natal charts. And those geometric relationships change over time, just like the hands on a clock. You've got the hour hand moving more slowly and the minute hand moving more quickly. So the minute hand goes around the circle and comes back eventually to join up with the hour hand again. And that's how the cycles work with the planets. Each of the every two planets, or every pair of planets that we follow in astrology, have that cycle where one is moving faster and it goes around the circle of the zodiac and eventually comes back around to meet up with the slower moving planet. So we see this cycle playing out through the moon cycle, and we can see this very visibly, tangibly in the sky. It's right in front of our eyes. We can see that when the moon and sun are together, we have a new moon. We can't see the moon because it's obscured by the sun, as well as we're actually looking at the dark side of the moon. So then the moon continues on its path and it separates from the sun. It moves away, and as it moves away, it has more space, and those geometric relationships change, forming first a square, which we see as the first quarter, then an opposition, which we see as 180 degrees, right? Opposite, which we see as the full moon, and then a third quarter square, which we see as they are coming back together again. So all pairs of planets do that cycle, have some version of that cycle. So what we have right now with the outer planets is that we have Pluto, and then Neptune has moved into a waxing sextile, meaning it's separating or moving apart from Pluto, moving away from Pluto. and has reached that 60-degree separation point. And in the case of Neptune and Pluto, it's actually been there for about 100 years. So because their orbits at certain points in their cycle are moving, they're both moving in a very similar rate. So they're actually not changing very much, or as they do change, it happens slowly at certain parts of the cycle. Okay. The same thing is happening between Neptune and Uranus. Uranus has moved into 60 degrees of moving away from Neptune. So that gives us another sextile, waxing sextile, meaning they are moving apart, and it has reached 60 degrees of being apart from Neptune. And then that makes Uranus 2 sextiles away from Pluto, or 1 trine, which is not 90, it's 120 degrees. So a trine is 120 degrees. If you can remember, middle school geometry, high school geometry, if you look at a circle and the circle is 360 degrees. So a sextile is the 2 points being 60 degrees apart. A trine is the 2 points being 120 degrees apart. All right, so all that is background. And what we have is these outer planets that are all in this alignment, this relationship, clicking into place, saying something is shifting, something is moving, something has an open door. And at the same time, all 3 planets being at the end of the sign that they're currently in. And remember, those outer planets move very slowly. In the case of Pluto, it's 248 years to go all the way around the cycles, all the way around the zodiac. So Neptune is a little bit less, and Uranus is 86 years or something like that. So okay, and Neptune, I want to say it's 120-year cycle. I'm not, don't quote me on these, but they're in the ballpark. Okay. And then so as we really look at the vibe in the world, what it feels like right now to be human, it is having this feeling of instability. And what is happening is that as we move through these crises, we are completing many things, multiple things at the same time. With Pluto in Capricorn, we're completing the work of Pluto moving through Capricorn, getting us to confront the reality of our systems and structures, our institutions, our ways of being organized, our government, our systems of authority, looking at how those operate and how we are bringing completion to that process of transformation. That is what Pluto brings. Pluto, among other things, it helps us connect with the shadow, and also a process of transformation that can bring healing as we bring awareness or bring issues into the light of day. So you have things showing up in the collective that are like, okay, this was under the rock for a long time. This was in the shadows. It was something that kind of might have existed, but we didn't have to think about it very much. Themes of white supremacy or misogyny, or whatever your issue of choice, your cause, particular thing that you're interested in is, it has to do with how those things that have been hidden in the shadows, in the darkness, coming out into the light of day, which is Pluto, having to do with authority, systems, and structures, and ways of operating. So we're completing that theme. 29 degrees is a potent degree called the anaretic degree, where we are, it's on one hand, it's like a last chance. Okay, like whatever you haven't finished, think about it now, because this is your chance to heal, to bring awareness, to bring this issue into the light of day, so that you are best positioned to bring about the breakthroughs that can come with the shift into Aquarius. So in order to be prepared for those shifts, we have to do the hard work of looking at the hard reality, the limitations, the ultimate, what are we dealing with? What are we confronting? What are we up against? And that is the energy of the Pluto in Capricorn vibe. Then we have the Neptune in Pisces vibe, which Neptune has been in Pisces since 2011 and is dissolving. Neptune is in its own sign. Modern ruler of Pisces is Neptune. And so we've got this energy kind of exaggerated, exacerbated, I don't know, of the water energy, the feeling of being just a drop in an ocean, and all structures are dissolve. It's like having the fog roll in and obscure the signposts, the guardrails, the guidelines, the things that gave you a sense of direction and structure and containment. So we are dissolving our old structures. We're dissolving old, I guess, old ways of orienting ourselves. And so if Neptune reminds us that there is a bigger picture that we can orient ourselves by, it says, let's take away the things you normally reach for, the things that normally give you comfort or security or a sense of how things work. When the fog rolls in, they dissolve, they disappear. You can't find them, you can't count on them anymore. And at the same time, there's an invitation to reach for, or to connect with, or to understand something at a bigger level. So higher level of consciousness, a bigger picture, a bigger connection to a spiritual truth, your heart's needs and desires. So that Neptunian need to say, okay, let's just roll in with, say, for example, a ginormous flood, and with which, from what I've heard, the amount of water that came down in Hurricane Helene, just especially in Western North Carolina, where I know people who live there, just in beyond imagination, which is kind of captured by Neptune in Pisces, right? Beyond imagination, beyond what we can conceive of. So it's rolling in, it's stripping away the ways that we are normally orient ourselves. Tragic. It's it's very, very traumatic what's going on there. But looking at it from this perspective of what these outer planets have to tell us, it's also asking us it's asking something of us. It is asking us to remember why we're here, and to connect to a bigger picture of what it means to be human, what we want, what are our hopes, dreams, and visions for the future. What is guiding us? Why are we here, right? And so connecting with what that is what will help us as Neptune goes into Aries, when we need to, put our stake in the ground and say, this is what I want, this is what's important to me, and why. So temporarily having the things that make us feel safe taken away is something that can push us to connect with that bigger picture of what is truly important. I don't mean in any way to diminish the real, very, very real experience of the trauma and the challenges. However, from this bigger picture perspective, this is how we can understand what these outer planets are asking of us, are pushing us through. So then you have and that's again Neptune at the very end of Pisces, where there is completion, where it is the last chance. It says, whatever you haven't gotten yet, now is the time to tune in, to connect with yourself and remember what is really important, right? What do you care about? What do you want to create going forward? How are you going to orient yourself if you have to connect with and navigate by a bigger picture principle? um so is it caring for your fellow humans? Is it caring and love in general? Is it what unites us is more important than what divides us? Like, just any kind of principle that it helps you connect with, that is part of the it's part of what we're here to experience. I'm not saying that I know what's right or wrong, but that is the story. That is the story we are in. Um, okay, and then you have Uranus in Taurus, and I have shared in previous videos how Uranus is the planet of shakeup and change and lightning bolts, and is bringing shakeup and change to Taurus, which is what gives us comfort and security and stability, something that we can depend on. It is the things that are routine and rhythmic that we just can count on, the ebb and the flow, the in and the out of the breath, the seasons and these rhythms of nature that just are the way they are. And Uranus comes in and it says, yeah, it's not going to work that way anymore, or the rhythm that you're connecting with, the routine needs to change. It needs to be different. It needs to upgrade to whatever modern times are asking you to become or to respond to, like artificial intelligence, or breakdown in our systems and structures. So we have all three of these outer planets pushing us in ways that we are not accustomed to being pushed, and saying, hey, this is it. Whatever lesson you're not getting yet, this is the time to get it. And this is the time to connect with what is really important to you, to, take that moment to feel gratitude for the things you have in your life, and to open to, how can I participate in creating the world, in being part of a world that I want to live in? And who do I need to be? And what changes do I need to undertake in my own personal life and in my personal growth and in my self-care? So self-care is how we get through this, right? Taking care of yourself is the starting place to come back to center and to be able to move with these changes, to accept and acknowledge what is. And even when it's devastating, even when it's very traumatic and heartbreaking, but to acknowledge this is what is, and what is important to me now. And there's a recognition that what is important to you now may be different than what you thought was important before, right? So really thinking about this bigger picture of how we are being asked to change, and what is going on in our social, economic, political environment and atmosphere. There's a lot of instability. There's a lot of unpredictableness to what is shifting and moving and changing, in part because all three of these outer planets are asking us at the same time to get it and to really get it now and to work for what we want and what we care about, and to not just put in our efforts, but put in our hearts to choose to align with it, to choose to believe in the future and the things that we want to have going forward. And what's important about that, right? Like is the fancy car really what you care about? That's the kind of moment we're in. Do you really care about your bank account? Like, I mean, it's there for a reason, right? And it's important, but why? What is the bigger picture of what is really important to you? And if we can do that work of responding to this invitation to connect with these bigger picture energies, we will, life goes on, and we will have the opportunity to continue to create, and participate in the world in the way that is perhaps even more in alignment with what's important and true and right. So, whether that's getting involved politically and supporting the issues and causes you care about, or whether it is showing up in your community as a caring presence, whether it is offering to help and finding ways of connecting with others, whether it is just taking a day off so that you can regroup, feel your feelings, and then you come back to center and can get clarity and inspiration and insight about what's going to be your next step. So we're in a powerful moon cycle right now. The Libra solar eclipse last week begins this moon cycle. We are really being asked to work together to figure out what it means to be human together, how to have our differences and still work together, right? And we can do that by acknowledging what is really important, and that's some of what these lessons are bringing us. So if you're feeling a lot, that's why, and take care of yourself. We have to have our batteries charged and have that ability to remember who we are. And we have to process the trauma, the grief, the fears, the worries, right, that we have about the world. It's like, that's real and that's human too. And to feel those feelings actually allows them to move in the way that Neptune and Pisces, say, okay, when you connect with the bigger picture of what your soul needs, you can move those feelings. They can move through you, and you can still continue to heal and to get clarity about what your next steps are, and to also recognize that what you thought you were doing, or where you thought you were headed, might be changing, right? So really checking in with yourself and saying, is what I thought was important, is that still what feels really important? Or is there something else that I need to acknowledge, or say to myself, or say out loud? So hopefully that's helpful. I would love to hear your thoughts and how this is feeling for you. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Marina Orms. You can learn more about me at astrologyheals.com. Thanks for being here and subscribing. I will see you next time with more astrology for unshakable self-care. Bye for now.